Aaron Rodgers has effusive praise for Zach Wilson and vice versa. And then Zach Wilson takes a not so subtle dig at the Jets' former coaching staff. Now, I know maybe you don't care about Zach Wilson. That's fine. I don't care about him a ton. I've made maybe 3 videos about him in the entirety of since him being benched. But Zach Wilson is still on the roster. Zach Wilson is still making $10 million, and Zach Wilson still has the highest draft capital attached to his name of any player I've watched in my lifetime. So sometimes we're going to talk about Zach Wilson. Now, Aaron Rodgers on Zach Wilson said that he has been in his hip pocket. He's been a sponge. He has been asking all the right questions. He's been logging late hours. They've stripped his fundamentals all the way down and are rebuilding them from scratch. He said he's seeing Zach get the ball out on time, on target, being accurate, making good decisions, all things that you love to hear. And Zach, when talking about Aaron Rodgers, said, of course, I want to be the guy, but if we were going to bring anybody in, I wanted it to be him, and saying how he can't be bitter because he didn't perform well. That's the part I like, and more on that in a second. And Rodgers went on to say that part of his goal of being the Jets quarterback is to make sure that Zach is set up for success for when he leaves, which is freaking awesome. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has checked every single box. I know it's been a month, it's a honeymoon phase, but he has checked every single box as far as a teammate, and I haven't seen the Aaron Rodgers that supposedly we were getting. It's early, but I think he's been freaking awesome. And that last part from Zach is the part I really like, how he said, I can't be bitter. I did not perform well. What do we call that? It's called accountability. And you can't get better without it. And that was why, Mekhi Becton, when he called out the Jets coaches, and maybe some of what he said is true, but Mekhi Becton left out the fact that he admittedly was 60 pounds overweight, and omitted that maybe that had anything to do with his knee holding up. So if we're leaving that out, we're not having a serious conversation. But Zach Wilson, I did not perform well. Boom. See? It's just that easy. And those are the facts. Now, Zach went on to speak about Nathaniel Hackett and Todd Downing and said that it's been refreshing, that he can trust them, and they know what they're talking about. Well, probably means that the guys who were here before, Michael LaFleur and John Benton, he did not trust them, and that they did not know what they were talking about. And with sports takes, it's always 100%, right? And I think if anyone is going to claim that either a better offensive coordinator would have had Zach Wilson looking like Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert by year 2, or that Mike LaFleur is some offensive genius and was a scapegoat for Zach Wilson, I think both of those claims are completely ludicrous. And at the end of the day, both Zach Wilson and Mike LaFleur performed putridly at their jobs, and they were both demoted. Mike LaFleur canned and is now a passing game coordinator, and Zach Wilson is now a backup QB, right? There was a stat that I saw not until a couple weeks ago, but it showed average points scored on the opening drives of halves. And the Jets were dead last, and it was by miles. They had about half the average points scored on their opening drive than the second to last place team. And that to me is really and those struggles permeated pretty much regardless of who the quarterback was. So that really demonstrates just a failure of offensive scripting and preparedness, and that is an indictment on the coaching. Also, every time somebody not named Zach Wilson threw passes for the New York Jets, the offense got undeniably better. So it's a little bit of both. But Michael LaFleur and John Benton are not employed by the New York Jets anymore. So I don't really give a damn about them anymore. Zach Wilson still is. And if I were to tell you that, the popular thing to say is Aaron Rodgers for 2 years and Zach Wilson gets right and then Zach Wilson for the next 10 and let's go. I have to try and be truthful in the things I say. I'm going to get some things wrong anyway. So I don't have the margin of error just to lie to you. And I don't believe that's the case. I still am living in the reality that if Zach Wilson were to turn around and become a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, it would be the single biggest career turnaround in NFL history. So it's a Hail Mary. But sometimes Hail Marys are caught. That's why you throw them. And so we'll see with Zach. If he is going to be that Hail Mary, this is the play you want to draw up. For sure. So we'll see. and we'll talk ball soon.